So I read a lot of books when I was down, right? About 1,300 of them. And in 2012, I started really getting into reading, shall we say, fantasy books. And there's like what I'm going to call classic fantasy, and then there's scoundrel lit. I'm going to do a whole nother video on scoundrel lit because that's a subsection of books I really like. But fantasy changed my life in reading. Like I'd get into these series that were 10 and 15 books long and just be lost in the characters. And one of the best authors I've ever read is a guy named Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson has been so incredible in the way he develops his story within a book and then throughout the entire series. His character development, everything's awesome. The Mistborn trilogy, the Stormlight Archives, they're all just incredible books. Anything you got by him is awesome. And he's also the one who finished the Wheel of Time series after Robert Jordan passed. Speaking of which, I really like the Wheel of Time series. I know there was a TV show made about it. I haven't watched it, but the books were awesome. Just totally changed the way fantasy was written. And you can't talk about the Wheel of Time without talking about the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. Terry Goodkind has been accused of stealing the Wheel of Time series, but it's different. It's got different stuff. Just like any fantasy book, there's different stuff in it. Incredible, very adult type stuff, very into morals and honor and all that. It's really good. Brett Weeks. I'm only giving you authors that everything I've read by him is dynamite. So Brett Weeks, the Lightbringer series, I think it's the Archives also, is incredible. The Night Angel trilogy. You can actually get the whole trilogy in one book. It's about this thick. So if you have a loved one in SHU and they're limited to what they can get, that's always a good buy. Pierce Brown, the Red Rising series. Man, not so much fantasy. It is fantasy, but it's more sci-fi. And it takes place on different planets, Mars and Venus and all that. Cool story. Way they do it's awesome. Has a real good social consciousness to it about racism and all that. It's really cool. And there's always the Game of Thrones, which still hasn't been finished, by the way, and that irritates the hell out of me. But fantasy books, classic fantasy, those are my favorites.